6 of the very best StarCraft 2 players in the world, all fighting at once. This is going to be absolute chaos. I don't even remember the last time I have covered a 3 versus 3. Spotting right here in the top left-hand corner. I'm guessing this is team... Where even are they? Yeah, I guess this is team blue. I mean, purple is blue adjacent. First off, with the SCVs, we're looking inside of the main base of Spirit. Right next to him, we have none other than Harstem. And then their Zerg ally. He goes by the name of Lambo. How do I get to the other side of the map? Apparently by hitting spacebar multiple times. The base camera hotkey. Spotting right here, though. In the opposite corner, I guess this is Team Red. Yeah, I mean, it's like a U. Normally, we have red and orange working together in a 2 versus 2. Apparently, now we have yellow added into the mix as well. First off, with the red proto species, we're looking inside of the main base of ShowTime. Bottom right-hand corner, we have none other than the world champion of StarCraft 2, Serral. And then one of his allies. Well, he goes by the username of Remarkable. But of course, that is none other than uThermal. We need names for these teams. We have Team Blue. Yeah, we have Team Fire, I suppose, in the bottom right. And then this is Team Water, Team Ice. We can probably do better than that. Either way, this particular series is from the Team Liquid map contest. My god. I mean, I guess it saves a drone. This is extremely cursed. But Harstem is helping out his Zerg ally. You'll love to see it. This is from the Team Liquid map contest. So, in case you're unfamiliar, there are multiple map tournaments happening right now in StarCraft 2. One of them is for team maps. So, 2v2, 3v3, and 4v4. And then there is a other tournament, a newer one, that is handling just 1 versus 1. Now, in general, the team maps in StarCraft 2 haven't been updated in forever. If you ever play any of the team games in SC2, it's honestly, like, you probably have been playing the same maps for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years or so. It's been far too long. But this Team Liquid map contest is trying to put a change to that. And, well, we'll have a look at one of the brand new ones. This one is called Quick Fix Baal Peak, which is arguably the worst map name I have ever heard. Quick Fix Baal Peak is going to be the first map in this Best of 5 series. It's looking absolutely massive, which is funny because that is not what she said. We do have the Reaper, though, on the other side of the map being a little bit of a nuisance. Stalker is going to run to the SCV's rescue, but a single kill was... Actually, 3 kills in total right here on that Reaper. Wow, 3 SCVs and 1 probe did already die so far. That's kind of crazy. This one Reaper here from uThermal has been putting in work. It's going to be able to get an additional kill. I'm guessing, actually, now that I'm looking at the map name some more, I'm guessing the map name is probably Baal Peak. But this is just like the quick-fixed version of it. Maybe there was some sort of problem during the tournament, and then the map maker probably recognized that there was an issue, and then made the quick-fix version of it. That makes way more sense than the entire map being called Quick Fix Baal Peak. Although I will still say that Baal Peak is also a questionable name, to say the least. Now, I will let you know, of course, that 3v3 is a very chaotic game mode, especially if you look at ladder games. I can imagine it's not gonna look much different at the pro level, but it will be significantly higher APM. So, I can already guarantee you that I will miss at least half of the action. I will try my very best to follow as much of it as possible, but this is what absolute StarCraft 2 chaos looks like. When every team is capable of about 1,500 actions per minute, you can imagine that things do get very, very messy. I'm secretly hoping that we're gonna see some crazy combinations of units all working together at the same time. ShowTime getting a little bit of damage done. The 2 queens right here from Lambo will be able to shoot his away eventually. Serral, in the meantime, also working away at one of the opponent's overlords. And Lambo is being treated as a bit of a punching bag so far. Overlord is going to go down. Hellion run by in the meantime. We have a Nidus network from Lambo all the way in the far bottom left-hand corner, too. Swarm Host production has started up for the German Zerg player. He is playing... Wait, no, this is 2 base, Nidus Swarm Host. What in the world? Now, of course, Team Fire will be able to hear that something spawned on their side of the map. but they don't quite know where the Nidus Worm is located. uThermal is going to have to be quick on the buttons, as he does indeed run the SCVs away, lifts off the command center, and I actually think it's okay as long as the Terran is spawned over here. You can save the majority of the units quite nicely. But the Swarm Host production has not been slowed down in any way, shape, or form. Okay. In the meantime, uThermal is going for the good old Cyclones. Now, it is important to note that this is played on the... I guess we can now call it the old balance patch, with the new one coming out a few days ago. This was played, I think, about maybe 5-6 days or so ago. So, as of me casting it at the very least. It is still a very new series, but of course we have some brand new changes. Blizzard suddenly decided to pull the trigger and decided to publish new patch notes. We never really get a heads up anymore, man. We never get an announcement like, hey, the new video, or sorry, the new patch is gonna go live tomorrow. We never get any info. It just, bam, it's suddenly there. All right, now Serral will be able to scout out most of these Nidus Worms. And so far, other than the very first one, I don't think Lambo has really been able to deal much damage with those units. The longer that those Swarm Hosts are on idle, the worse it's going to be. You really want to min-max the amount of damage you can deal with the unit. And generally, that means that you want to use the cooldown as often as you possibly can. Lambo is going to be able to, at the very least, get some of these units out, but it's all a little bit messy. Lucky for him, there are still some Locusts available, so the Cyclones aren't just going to be able to tear everything apart. Now, is this like your general ladder game of 3v3? Is there a guy in the corner making carriers? Let's have a look. What is Harstem up to? Ah, Dark Shrine. Not quite the same as carriers. I was just wondering. Because every time I play like a 3v3 or a 4v4, it's, I mean, admittedly, that's not very often. But usually there's always one guy in the corner just massing one unit. Swarm Host production's getting out of hand, man. Serral, in the meantime, is going into a ton of roaches together with Burrow. +2 missile also coming up. We have Blue Flame researching here for uThermal. And in the meantime, what is ShowTime up to? I feel like it's been a little bit quiet on his side of the map. Yeah, he's just macroing up. No surprise, I suppose, with the way that ShowTime generally likes to play the game. He may very well be feeding some of those resources as well to his allies. Keep in mind, in team games in StarCraft 2, you can indeed share resources. Across the board, though, this has been like a nice early mid-game macro match, right? Neither team really deciding to go for a hyper-aggressive cheese or anything along those lines. The Swarm Host numbers are getting a little bit absurd, though. So, I guess Lambo is exploring how many Swarm Hosts you can possibly produce off of 2 bases. This would be terrible in 1v1. Pretty terrible as well, actually, in 2v2. But I think in 3v3, probably even better in 4v4. This is something that can certainly work out, because it leaves so many minerals on the table for your allies. It's one of the very few unit compositions for Zerg that really doesn't require a whole lot. And it really can deal a lot of damage. Serral decides to sacrifice some of his roaches to save one of ShowTime's Nexi. In the meantime, we have Spirit going for a big Doom drop here as well, just trying his best. He is going to be able to snipe uThermal's first command center. Now a bunch of Swarm Hosts are joining in the fray as well. Stalkers will be able to blink on top of that. That is, of course, ShowTime's units showing up as well for the rescue mission. In the meantime, a new Swarm Host is, or a new Swarm Host group is going to be able to pop up here in just a moment. Now, what has Harstem been cooking up? We have the Dark Templar and a whole lot of Stalkers. He's been marching around the map for a while. I mean, there's got to be somebody with detection here, right? Yeah, Revelation is going to be used. Stasis Ward. Look at this. Ugh. Ugh. It's a naked Dark Templar. Ugh. Nobody wants to see that, man. It's like catching your grandma in the shower. Nobody wants to see that. Either way, it is going to be revealed and then walked into the Stasis Ward. Serral's trying to unburrow some of these units as he snipes another one of the Nidus networks. Man, there is so much action all over the map. Nice corrosive ball, though, there by Serral. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but Serral really seems to be a very good player. I know, understatement of the day. But he's been playing Nidus Whack-A-Mole for a while, shutting all of them down, multi-pronged aggression, saving his allied bases, and then sniping a ton of the Swarm Hosts too. Okay, well, Team Blue, Team Ice has decided that with everything failing miserably, they're just going to tap out and give the opponents the 1-0 advantage. Next up, we find ourselves on a map called Tekket Sanctity. Tekket Sanctity. Is that how you write sanctity? Why have I never noticed that sanctity is... Yeah, that's perfectly spelled. It almost looks like a typo to me. Tacit? Tekket Tacit Sanctity. 3v3. Horrible map name so far, I'm not gonna lie. Just across the board, not a fan. Maybe the map layout, though, will be... I'm very critical of map names. The more games of StarCraft I've cast, the worse it gets, okay? We're about 5,000 videos deep at this point. Shout out, by the way, to those of you that have been watching them. I'm glad there's still people interested in hearing me ramble, get excited about, you know, people that are better at video games than me. The more games of StarCraft I cast, the more critical of map names I have become. Yeah, it is what it is. I can't help myself. Now, I can't help but notice, though, that in that previous game, effectively, as soon as Serral decided to attack, that's when the opponents decided to tap out. Serral moved out, and they were like, well, I guess that's it. Better leave this match and call it a day. I think, though, the real key was that Lambo just achieved basically nothing. Lambo decided to go for the mass swarm host play. He had his very first Nidus worm right next to uThermal's base. And then obviously uThermal just lifted up the command center, ran the SCVs. He got like maybe 2 workers and a supply depot or something. And then after that, none of the swarm hosts really seemed to put in a whole lot of work. Not a good spot right there for the Zerg at all. And at that point, you are effectively... I mean, obviously he was trying, but the opponents were a little bit too good. At that point, Harstem and Spirit were effectively going for a 2 versus 3. Harstem, of course, trying his best with Mass Stalker, but then also some very late Dark Templar. Those Dark Templar did absolutely nothing. Team Ice. Team No, we have Team Fire, Team Magma going up against Ice, Water, Aqua. So far, it seems like the team in red is looking just a little bit better. A couple of Reapers throwing grenades at each other like it's a Terran versus Terran. They're playing their own little mini-game. In the meantime, ShowTime, where are you going? ShowTime is looking for proxies. I thought for a second it was going to be ShowTime who was going to go for some sort of proxy aggression, but no, he's just looking around his side of the map. His team's side of the map. Making sure that there's nothing hiding there, and there's a lot of locations to check out. Because the map is just absolutely massive. He's also got an adept moving around the bottom section of the map. Just trying to look around to see if there's anything over there as well. Interestingly enough, uThermal has got a bunch of his Reapers on idle. His units are way quicker, and certainly more adept at scouting. But, you know, that's the Terran player mentality, right? Those high testosterone levels are just, yeah, he's not up for time. Let the Protoss do it. Let the Protoss do it, is what uThermal said to his allied, and it makes sense, I suppose. All right, let's see. Can we get any value done, though, at this point? Probably not. Team Squirtle versus Team Charmander. Dorn versus Winterfell. I'm liking it. I think we can get up to something nice. Now, what is Serral doing? Look at this. 3 minutes and 50 seconds in, Serral is building 3 spine crawlers right next to each other to protect this giant ramp, as he is going for a 2-base Muta opener. Very odd, very un-Serral-esque, but maybe something that can work out. Harstem is adding on a, well, very similar setup once again, although it all feels a little bit quicker. It's because he's only on a single base. Wait, is he actually? Yeah, Harstem got 1 base and like a dozen gateways. Wait, what? Am I crazy? Harstem, why are we building this many structures on 1 base? What am I missing? ShowTime is denying some of this as well. That is 8 gateways? 9 gateways on 1 base. I guess his allies are feeding him resources. That's the only thing that makes sense. Because as a Protoss player on 1 base, you're certainly not going to be able to support this much economy. So I guess that's the plan. Spirit, in the meantime, trying to sneak out a bunch of those Metavex as well. Serral trying to harass a little bit, but let's see. That's an awful lot of Reapers, uThermal. My god. How many do we need? uThermal is playing... we're effectively playing... just mono battles here. Serral's going Mutas. uThermal's going Reapers. Harstem is going Stalkers. Spirit is going Marines. Only ShowTime really is playing a bit of a diverse unit composition. Reapers are going for the mass counterattack, it looks like. Dark Templar are added into the mix as well. What has Lambo been up to, by the way? I guess Lambo is the one feeding resources to Harstem. That's the only thing that makes sense here. Because I haven't really... I was wondering. I'm not naming all the players here, am I? There's one more in this game. And that must be Lambo, who is probably allowing that damage here on the other side of the map. That being said, though, these Reapers that I was criticizing just a second ago, they are putting in quite a bit of work, really hurting the economy of Spirit quite a lot. Serral is finally getting those Mutalisks out, and he's now flying them to the other side. Already, though, reinforcing Stalkers are nearby. Spirit going for a drop into Serral's main base. So far, though, Harstem has been held at bay at the front. Big blink forward again. So much static defense, though, for the Protoss and then also the Zerg. Reapers are getting cleaned up, but not without dealing copious amounts of damage. Serral has got multiple control groups of Mutas, it looks like, as he is now harassing, well, I guess Harstem's lifeline over here when he's reducing the economy here of Lambo. He's going to have to make sure, though, that these units here get cleaned up, too. The reinforcing Reapers are trying to help out in that regard. ShowTime getting his own Stalkers ready. It looks like uThermal will end up losing one of his two command centers. Mutas were thinking about going back home, but have decided that is not the play. Spirit, in the meantime, did end up sniping the Spire, so that will be the last Mutalisk for now. Serral doesn't really have any other production other than, I guess, Mutalisks and Marines, right? Or sorry, Mutalisks and Zerglings, but he also lost the spawning pool. So Serral is in an awkward spot where he has got some income, but he's got no way to spend it. He's even going to be losing the lair right now, making a spawning pool and an infestation pit yet again. Infestation pit is a crazy play. Serral is now in a position where he doesn't have anything other than a building infestation pit. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Well, if Spirit has any say in the matter, he's going to try and shut that down as well. Stalkers here from Harstem are still darting around the battlefield. Looks like some of them were also sent into the main base of Lambo just to keep that lifeline going. Reapers, in the meantime, are putting in a ton of work as well, and this is actually a very close match. I'm liking these Stalkers, though, a lot, right? Even though uThermal has had a lot of units, the Reapers can't really help out very much in these straight-up engagements. Now, maybe the Stasis Ward is going to be able to change the battle a little bit, although Spirit has now also reinforced this with some Marines. uThermal now at a meager 3 supply. All of it is SCVs. He's not going to be able to help out too much anymore, and right now he will get revealed as well. It does not actually reveal any of the other players on the other side of the map, only uThermal's base. I've wondered about that in the past. I've never been bothered to double check. ShowTime is going to be... Yeah, and I mean, ShowTime is not going to have enough production here, right? I don't think so. Harstem just has too many units, and Spirit really is also building up a lot of his own. Interestingly enough, he's going for an excuse me, an additional command center right now, which I find quite ironic. Spirit always has been known for making a lot of those lovely Terran town halls. I don't think that's what they need right now. I think what they can do is go and win the game. There are still some Dark Templar darting around as well, just trying to help out. But at this point, all the pressure in the bottom left-hand corner of the map is gone. And Harstem is still, yeah, hammering home the Stalkers. Serral trying to get a snipe on one of those siege tanks here, but yeah, I don't think Serral has the units to really get the damage done. He did, by the way, lose the infestation pit. Decided to replant an evolution chamber, and I guess we're going to be making a load of Zerglings. The idea being, of course, that Stalkers can die to that. But I believe we are seeing Team Fire over here on their last legs. Harstem has got too many units. Spirit likewise as well. I don't really know where Spirit's army is located. Spirit has 32 Marines. Ah, okay. They're once more, they must have been in Medivacs when I was looking at the minimap. They've once more made their way into the main base of Serral. And even though Lambo isn't really getting a lot of credit, he is really the one that enabled this victory. Game number 3 in this best of 5, we find ourselves on Sleeping Giant. I'm assuming this is a macro map, right? A bit of a passive, laid-back macro map. I mean, it's a 3v3 map, so it just has a lot of bases to begin with. How many expansions do you actually get? Let's see. So we have one, obviously, one main base, a natural. But then for the next ones, it gets a little bit messy because they no longer come in 3s. So the natural comes in 3s, for obvious reasons. Of course, it's mirrored as well on the other side. Bottom left-hand corner has 3 bases each, but then this one only comes in 2s. Gold base over here as well is a curious one. Alright, well, maybe it's meant to be a macro map, but uThermal has decided to send one of his SCVs to watch the other side. ShowTime also doing a little bit of scouting here. I thought for a second that Protoss was also going to go for a proxy. But uThermal indeed is going to go for his beloved proxy barracks. Would it be Reapers? Yeah, probably. Let's see. Lambo, in the previous game, not really getting a whole lot of credit, but he really was the one that was enabling all of that production. Mostly for Harstem, I believe, but maybe he also did send some resources there to his ally Spirit. Just mostly harvesting. Serral not really getting much done in the previous game. I mean, he did deal quite a bit of damage, I guess, with the Mutalisks, but the Mutas rarely are the stars of the show for very long. ShowTime trying his very best to basically pick up the pieces. But it turns out it's really difficult to play a 1v2. So who's going to be playing tricks and who is going to be playing straightforward StarCraft? Well, for the time being, we're going back to Mass Reaper here again. Mark obviously a big fan of Mass Reaper. He was playing Reapers long before it was cool. Once upon a time, actually, uThermal was considered to be, like, at the very least, like, the best micro-Terran from Europe. He pulled off some crazy build orders back in the day. I remember watching him play some battlecruiser builds when he was still, like, an active competitive player. In serious tournaments, he ended up going for battlecruisers in StarCraft 2 metas where the battlecruisers really weren't popular whatsoever. He's always been very micro-focused, and it's obviously very interesting to watch. The thing is, these days, all the top-level Terran players, they have really good micro. Like, think of somebody like Clem. Clem's micro is ridiculous, but then he also has very good macro. And very good strategy. And he's very good at offline tournaments. And he's also very good at playing long series. And he's... You can't just be good at one thing in order to be a top-tier competitor in StarCraft 2 in 2025. Quite interesting sometimes thinking back on the early days of StarCraft. Like, you could really set yourself apart just by being better at, like, one aspect of the game. These days, well, you have to be good at everything. The Reaper's not really achieving too much, if I'm being honest. uThermal already sort of giving up on it as well. Now using one of those barracks for scouting. What is Serral up to this time around? Spore Crawler for safety. He's got a single base here for now, building up... Yeah, a third here, so a single extra base on the low ground, that is. Making a whole lot of Zerglings. Joining up right now as well with the Reapers, with the Adepts here of ShowTime to try and kill one of the expansions and say goodbye to your hatchery Lambo. Lambo going into a Roach Warren right now. Wouldn't mind some good old Roaches, man. Zerglings are a core unit for Zerg. And while they usually get most of the credit, I think actually a Roach Hydra is another one of those basic unit compositions that really is just super good in team games. You can rarely go wrong with a unit composition like Roach Hydra. It's not very popular at the pro level in 1v1, but it certainly can put in some work. So far, the team in the top left-hand corner is really harassing the opponents very nicely. Still though, Harstem is doing a good job holding on here to his bases. Now, the way that he is situated in the middle makes all of that a little bit easier. Spirit is being punched in the face a bunch as well. How much damage has he taken? Yeah, 10 workers worth. It does add up over time. But none of these players are down and out. Cloaking Field coming up for uThermal. Okay. Cloaking Field, Terran Mech. This feels like an absolute latest possible cloak on the Banshee as possible, but... Latest possible cloaking on the... Okay. Nice English. Very impressive English. Lambo is never going to be able to get this base up. Really is struggling getting that expansion going, because every time he gives it a shot, the opponent ends up, yeah, just shutting it down. Harstem currently on 6 gateways on 2 bases. He may very well be adding on some more. Yeah, I think we have at least like a somewhat similar strategy yet again. Although, of course, there are roaches joining in the fray as well. It's Stalkers together with Siege Tanks and Marines, and then a whole load of Roach Ravager too. Nice timing attack here, honestly, from the players in the bottom right-hand corner. Let's see if it's going to be enough. Bare minimum, of course, is to kill the Nexus here of ShowTime. Desperately, all of the reinforcements are showing up. Serral getting his own Roach Ravager going here too. There was a Zergling counterattack in the meantime, but that one will be cleaned out. They can easily kill the Nexus. Slowly, some of the units are chipping away at it. ShowTime is certainly going to have to evacuate some of it. Yeah, those probes are going to have to find different minerals to be mining from. Spirit leaving some of his siege tanks behind. I do believe they are going to get cleaned up here in a moment. Still though, Lambo has already set his sights now on one of the additional bases. Blink forward here from Harstem does shut down one of the opponent's siege tanks. And slowly but surely, Team Blue is starting to tighten the noose. Bunch of Serral's Overlords are going down. Not bad whatsoever. And this is one of the difficult things of StarCraft in general, but especially in team games. When it starts snowballing, it's so difficult to get back into it. Siege tanks, though, really serving as a good backbone. Those Ravagers are also good at biling things down. Spirit Siege Tank now at 24 confirmed kills. Aggressive blink forward here from Harstem. Honestly feels like a too aggressive of a blink. Although he does get 2 Siege Tanks there from the opponents. But that is most of the Stalkers right now gone as well. And you know what? I do believe that the players in the top left end up stabilizing. Prism gets shut down as well. Those corrosive biles and the blinks here from ShowTime. It's all been very good. And suddenly, Harstem, Spirit, and Lambo have to go back home. Okay. Now, they did deal a lot of damage. Yeah, ShowTime has to remake that base. That was the natural expansion of the Protoss player. In a multiplayer of 1v1, right? You would basically have to tap out after losing your natural expansion. It's rare that we see players getting stuck on one base. But you know what? ShowTime is also dealing some damage on the other side of the map. And while he did lose some units, only 3 probes and only 10 stalkers have gone down. So yeah, ShowTime really pulling off some really solid control here. uThermal now also with a much more sustainable unit composition. Marine tank is, well, the gold standard for a reason. Serral also no longer mucking about with some, I don't know, Muta Zergling or anything along those lines. Just going into the good old Roach Ravager. Now, when behind? Dark Shrine. It's the age-old adage of StarCraft. Harstem is bringing it out right now too, but I mean, again, in 1v1, the odds of your opponent having detection are pretty dang good. But not 100%. In 3v3 though, the odds of one of your opponents having detection is close to 100%. uThermal obviously has scans. He's got missile turrets. Serral over here with Overseers and Spore Crawlers too. Maybe ShowTime has some of the harder to use detection, but he's got Oracles with the Revelation ability that can also see Dark Templar, so I'm not exactly sure what we can do with all of this. Harstem starting to rebuild some of his workers as well. I don't really love the idea of, yeah, Dark Templar here. He keeps adding them on, but I don't think it really does too much. Sometimes in 2v2, 3v3, and 4v4, it's actually just better to just feed your allies. When you're uncertain as to what you should do, what sort of unit composition you should go for, just feed your allies. Let them deal with your money instead. Speaking of money, at this point, uThermal does have a whole lot of it in the bank. Maybe he just was sent some resources, but I doubt it. Dark Templar, though, are being warped in. And they're going to have to make the very long trek from Harstem's main base all the way to the other side. Hey, is that the Blizzard offices? Dang. It's been a while since I've been in California, but did not look like that. That's crazy, man. All those Diablo microtransactions and Overwatch and all. It's not looking good. No StarCraft 2 battle passes. All right, Dark Templar. Ah, there you go. Okay, well, it didn't do much, but it did do something. Is there enough for Team Ice to be able to break through this? Well, we have the flank right here from Spirit, going after the siege tanks and the Ravagers. But now the flanker has become the flankeed, as we have ShowTime showing up with a ton of Stalkers as well. And I think this tug of war is starting to tip in favor, yes, of Team Red. And that means that ShowTime, uThermal, and Serral get a second point on the board. Next up, we find ourselves on the map Radiator. How do we come up with map names? How does it work? I would like to understand the process. Of course, if you are a map maker, you can just name your maps whatever you like. Did we just look around the room when we like finished up the project and we saw a radiator and we thought that's perfect? That's actually the story of many pro gamers out there. When you ask them how they found out about their name, like when they decided to pick the name, oftentimes they just like opened up a random word generator, or they took like a dictionary and just, I don't know, pointed at a word and that ended up being their username. Radiator seems like one of those. Anyhow. Yeah, we have the random word category. We have the this could be a Pokemon name category. We have the this could be a medical product category. This firmly falls into category number 1, right? It's in the room with me right now. So I guess I'll just name this a radiator category. uThermal going for multiple barracks, one of them out on the map. Somebody stop the man, okay? Reapers are good, uThermal, but not that good. Have they really been worthwhile? I mean, in the first game where he decided to go for him, they were very strong. But I feel like in the previous one, they didn't put in nearly as much work, although I may have missed a couple of the engagements. I picked my username a very long time ago. I don't think Loco is a bad name. It's just that I don't speak Spanish at all. And one of the big downsides of picking the name Loco is that at least once a month, somebody on social media or in like the YouTube comments section or like in my Twitch live stream or whatever, somebody will ask, "Hey Loco, did you know that Loco means crazy in Spanish?" And I've had to deal with that for about a decade and a half now. The problem with me pointing it out is now it's going to be twice a month. I have just doubled the occurrence of it. Anyways, uThermal going in with the Reapers. Trying his very best. So far, though, Lambo and Harstem, they're going to be able to push it away. Spirit also helping out with those Hellions of his. uThermal, though, not really sticking around on Reapers nearly as much. I quite like this, actually. Just opening up with some Reaper pressure. Maybe make the opponents think that, yes, this is going to be mass aggression for the remainder of the game. But then making the quick transition to using one of those barracks for scouting. And then the other one for add-on production so we can transition into some mechanical units instead. Reaper's putting in quite a bit of work, actually. Oracle also has to activate its pulsar beam here. And I think most of the damage dealt so far is actually due to uThermal's damage, so... Ooh. I did see a bunch of the Hellions just now go in. I was a little confused why there were a bunch of drones going behind the SCV lines here, behind the supply depots. But of course, that is a perfectly viable strategy in 2v2, 3v3, and 4v4. All right. Zergling run by here from Serral, trying to put in some work. He is going to be able to, okay, snatch both of the Adepts. Not bad whatsoever. uThermal decides to celebrate this defense by building up a new command center of his own. His barracks is still going around too. Spirit now finally gets some proper anti-air out, and eventually this barracks is going to go down, but I think uThermal has been scouting very nicely. Remarkably, you could say. And he knows everything. No surprises anymore on the side of Team Ice. We do have a Spire coming up here for Lambo. This is going to give the opponents a lot of time to prepare. I wouldn't mind seeing some missile turrets and spore crawlers, shield batteries, all the rest of it. And already, actually, we have been set up very nicely. ShowTime in all of these games so far, mostly functioning as like a very stable backbone, right? Like, he's not going for any of the spicy strategies. It's not really his approach in general in StarCraft 2, but he's not really going for any of the spicy builds, but he is certainly the anchor that is keeping all of this this gameplay of his allies very, very safe. We do have a whole lot of mutas on the production tab now, though, and +1 was also added into the mix. So Lambo is going full Zergling, full muta. That's what we're building up. It's a good unit composition, but it's also one that has many counters. And generally, the longer that the game goes on, the worse these type of compositions become. Now, since we have these upgrades going, I don't think Lambo is really planning on transitioning away from any of it. The mutas do show up, and they do find a base that at the very least is still attackable. Still, though, Blink Stalkers here are going to be available soon for ShowTime. Marines are here. I believe they already have... No, they don't have Stimpack yet. We do have to... I guess we're not even playing Stimpack. Ah, what the heck? What in the uThermal is this? It's weird. We have 2 starports, but no reactor, each producing 1 Liberator at a time. We're also making Marines, but we're actually playing Terran Mech. We're not going Stimpack, though, which is also weird, because we do have, like, 24 Marines. Alright, well, let him cook. Bailing Nest added into the mix here as well for Lambo. Robo Bay coming up right now for ShowTime, so he is adding on a more powerful backbone to his allied armies again. Serral slowly expanding all over the map, taking a 4th base now. Serral adding on some of his beloved Infestors. He's been liking those a lot, it seems, as of late. And with the new patch, I can only imagine that he is enjoying them even better. Now that people are complaining that Microbial Shroud of all abilities is overpowered. Now, I will, of course, get to casting some of the new patch games as soon as I can. As far as I know, Serral has not participated in any tournament since the new patch dropped. But as soon as he will, I will go ahead and cast some of his games. Make sure you subscribe so you get notified as soon as those go live. It'll be fun to see how strong Microbial Shroud truly is. Because I've seen some whiny Terran players on the internet. But then again, StarCraft players are very whiny in general, so, you know, you gotta take it with a grain of salt. Anyways. Spirit has got Stimpack. Spirit's got Siege Tanks. Harstem pushing through right now as well with a whole load of Stalkers. Nice little push right here from Lambo as well on the other side of the map. He's gonna be able to kill that, that base easy peasy. No cancel there from ShowTime. So that's 400 minerals down the drain. uThermal wants to fight mutas with Liberators, it seems. Very odd. Liberators do have an air-to-air that deals splash damage, but it's rarely the way... You have like 17 units that have anti-air as Terran. Rarely do you play Liberators as your main source of anti-air, but you know what? Hey, does uThermal know about reactors? Apparently we don't need to. New command center going up as well for him. Liberator, siege tank, marines without stimpak or combat shields. Roach is going in around the side right now from Serral, though, really trying to help out too. He does have a bunch of Vipers. So Viper, Infestor, Roach, Ravager. Extremely powerful unit composition. The Muta count, though, is starting to get out of hand. Like, we're now at the point where Mutas don't care anymore about static defense. Yeah, and he can even start fighting the Stalkers here off Showtime. Liberators show up as well, though, and they're gonna force this away. It's pretty funny to see. Such an uncommon playstyle. So much chaos, though, all over the map. Serral is now sniping some of those units here on the left. Corrosive Biles, Fungal Growths, Vipers. What do we have? Well, we just have a whole lot of Roaches that are stuck behind the force fields. But it looks like Harstem also does not really plan on engaging them until a little bit later. ShowTime in the meantime has chased those Mutas all the way back. Decides to go in for some counterattack aggression. Corruptor production now has begun here for Lambo. Lambo effectively playing full Skyzerk. Spirit not really able to achieve too much so far in this particular game. Trying his best, but just not getting too much done. Getting a few Vipers would be, well, amazing, but having a difficult time of it so far, and he can't really be fighting this Protoss army for now. Using the medevac to snatch up some of those defenses again. I'm a little bit afraid that I'm gonna pan the camera away from the Mutalisks, and then the next time I look for them, they are nowhere to be found. Mutas tend to just die. Corrosive Biles, Fungal Growth. Ooh, Serral with the Fungal into Corrosive. Does grab a bunch of those units, but even slowed down. Mutas are plenty fast. Unsiege Liberators, man. Actually putting in the work. Look at uThermal go. uThermal just slowly trickling in more and more libs, as he is functioning as the team's main source of anti-air, with the units that are rarely used as an anti-air tool. ShowTime in the meantime, playing a little bit of Protoss versus Protoss. Slices up one of the expansions there off, well, Harstem. Liberators, though, are finally gonna get shut down. Yeah, that was just a matter of time. We do have some good splits here. Okay. Decent splits in the end, but Mutas, of course, are just such vulnerable units. Still, they are gonna be good enough to be fighting those Roaches and Ravagers as long as there's no solid anti-air available. Serral backed up to the safety of the Spore Crawler. Fight on the left side of the map apparently needs to be resolved with the SCVs pulled away from their mineral line, as they are gonna start harvesting some of these fresh minerals. uThermal going for some double expanding, or at the very least an attempt. Looks to me like he's donating 2 command centers, which is not ideal. In the meantime, Harstem is pushing on the right side of the map. One of the CCs is already down. Second one is probably not going to be too far behind. Looks like Serral is playing his own little Zerg versus Protoss against Harstem here. Second command center indeed does bite the dust. Is there enough, though, for Team Blue here to really shut down this one army here of ShowTime? Because ShowTime has been adding in so many units. Some of the Marines and the Marauders here as well, off Spirit helping out, but trying his best is not going to be enough. Harstem forced to retreat as well on the other side. Another command center dies. This is what it looks like when you get about 2,000 actions a minute in a single game of StarCraft. Absolute chaos all over the map. This map looks good, though. It seems like it really allows for these type of individual battles to happen, which is lovely. The armies are so big right now that they don't really fit through like one choke point anymore. When the supply counts go even bigger, you have to go for these multi-pronged skirmishes on a map like this. Easy split here, Lambo. Decide to just give up on the Corruptor instead. Lambo's supply count is still surprisingly good. I'm always a little worried that the Mutas and the Corruptors are just going to find a bad engagement. Like one Fungal Growth. There's no Storm here, but like one Storm. It's just a unit composition that disappears so quickly. Okay, nice liftoff right there by ShowTime, shutting down that Purification Nova before it can really land. Harstem will be able to escape with at least one of his Colossi alive, but it's low HP. Abductions here by Serral in the bottom right-hand corner are going to be able to get rid of one of those medevac drops. A secondary one is also going to get shut down. Spirit not really finding any angle here. I feel like every time I see Spirit's units, he's just getting bullied. uThermal did take the island base. All right. Weird little island base. We rarely see island bases, but I guess team games are as good a place to experiment with those as, well, any. Serral added on a swarm host. Probably a mistake. Still found the APM to, at the very least, put in some work. Okay. Even though previously we saw a bunch of command centers die in this section of the map, uThermal decides to make a second move for it. And he is sending 3 of them this time around. In the meantime, ShowTime is starting to break through, though. ShowTime really putting in so much work. Serral now also fully maxed out, and while he is struggling, he's fighting against 2 players at the same time. And it's giving ShowTime an opportunity to go in for big damage over on the other side of the map. Looks like Spirit did get some damage done in the meantime. Somehow, some way, bypassing that other base here of uThermal entirely, which is kind of funny. Lambo with a low HP hatchery is going to end up losing it as well. Serral with the one cheeky lurker here putting in additional work. Liberators of uThermal are showing up. Man, uThermal is basically going for a Liberator-only army. Harstem's supply count, though, has been diving down, and likewise, Spirit has very little to speak of. So it means, indeed, that GG is gonna get cold. The mutas here of a Lambo are not going to be enough. And that means that ultimately, it's ShowTime, Serral, and uThermal that obtain the victory in this best of 5 series. So what do you think of 3v3? I think it's very fun, but it's also extremely chaotic. It seems to me like the more players you add to a game of StarCraft, the less strategic it becomes. It's a lot of fun to watch every once in a while, and maybe it's just a symptom of there not being a lot of 3v3. Because when uThermal, for example, was hosting all of those 2v2 tournaments earlier this year, we saw that the strategies evolved a lot. Right? But oftentimes I've noticed in the 3v3 games, and again, I've only casted a handful of them, but oftentimes it feels like it's these individual battles that are all going on at the same time, rather than everybody working together towards one common goal. I did really like that one game, though, where Lambo was the one mining, and then was feeding Harstem, because Harstem ended up going for, like, I think it was 9 gateways on one base, with a Dark Shrine as well. That's the type of stuff that you would obviously never be able to really do in a 2v2 even. So maybe there is some room for strategizing in that regard. But either way, this best of 5, an absolute banger. And of course, congratulations to the winners.